The Benetti Museum in Livorno, Italy displays not just the history of Benetti themselves, but also somewhat of a history of yachting, since the company played such an important role in the evolution of the industry. Just take a look at this image here of a Benetti built back in the 1960s. It's easy to forget that back then, a vessel of this size was considered to be really quite a large yacht. And in fact, it was in the 1960s that the jet setters of the day and the rich and the famous were really enjoying using and owning them. The Italians used to call this kind of large luxury yacht the Motopanfilo, and in fact, Benetti became famous for producing so many of them. This year, they're launching a new model with all of the great attributes of the Motopanfilo, but with much more, to meet the demands of a more modern clientele. Now, when Benetti sent me details of this new model, it was clear to me that they knew exactly what it is that makes it stand out from the crowd. So I came here to Livorno to meet Federico Lantero, who sent me those details. So Federico, first of all, thanks for inviting me here. I really appreciate it. When you sent me that information through, there were 5 really specific concepts about this yacht, starting with one called the shell concept. What was that?
Well, the shell concept is really the quest to design a boat that really blends together the hull and the superstructure in one only volume. And it is characterized by very clean, soft, elongated lines and with no protrusion. We wanted the exterior not to be over-decorated, but to keep the elegance in time.
I noticed that with the images that you sent me that I guess back in the 1960s, people would build a hull, then they put the superstructure on. But Benetti already were bringing the hull up into the superstructure so it looked like it's all one big volume in itself, which obviously you've done here with this boat as well.
Yes, indeed. We have a flush connection which is blending together, and it is, as I said, absolutely flush. So no protrusion, and it also placed amidship. And it's very important. We decided to go just for one in order to balance also the fore part and the aft part of the yacht, and having so a very elongated profile. Also because consider that the Motopanfilo in the years grow in size. We are now talking about a tri-deck. So it was a challenge in design, of course, to create something that was delivering all these volumes, but still delivering the idea of this gentle flow, elongated profile.
Sure. And then the second concept was called the bronze ribbon. So what was that?
The bronze ribbon comes, well, in the past it was the use of the mahogany wood that was basically protecting the bulwark, and Benetti already started to make use of this mahogany framing in order to perimeter also the overhang of the ceiling, and it became basically a decorative pattern. Distinctive. And today we have reinterpreted it completely in a modern take. This is the Motopanfilo of the 21st century, and it is instead a chamfer that is integrated in the shape of the hull, and it is finished with a metallic bronze painting with a matte layer on top. That really gives a very elegant and modern touch.
I didn't even know that matte metallic was a thing until you told me about it. But I also hadn't realized that, of course, back in the 60s, mahogany was used for the capping rails, but that Benetti had made a feature of it by bringing it underneath the overhangers as well. And the way that you've done that with bronze metallic matte paint on the new Motopanfilo is really impressive. And actually, while we're looking at this area, the third major design point was regarding the transom. So what's so important about the transom design of the 37-meter Motopanfilo?
That was really one of the most relevant challenges in the design, because of course Benetti Motopanfilo are famous for the round stern of the 60s. They are still beloved by owners, and as a matter of fact they are very nice, but they do not respond to today modern yacht owners who are searching for sure beautiful beach terraces which enables them to access the sea very easily and comfortably. And so we pretended to recreate the idea of course, of avoiding any protrusion. So as you can see, there is no buffer. So basically the chamfer is sloping down to the shoulder of the hull, and then the shoulder is embracing literally the platform. And at the same time, this face is slightly sloped. And in this way, when you open, you fold it out, you create a portion of Beach Club, a platform, which is maximized in size. So even compared to our most recent models, this beach platform will be amazing in terms of size, and it will be very appreciated. I think that even the owners of the 60s Moto Pamphilo could even envy a little bit this solution.
I think you're right. Now, the fourth element, which I was particularly interested in, was the observation deck, because back in the 60s, those Bonetti Moto Pamphilo yachts had the highest point was used for being able to just enjoy the scenery. What about the new Moto Pamphilo?
The purpose was to find a place which was at top of the boat as it was. Of course, this is a tri-deck, so it's completely different from the past. And we decided to introduce it for the first time on a little fourth deck, so built atop the hardtop. You access this from an aerial stair from the sun deck. It will be a place for two only. And you can imagine, you can indulge there, you have a lounge sunpad, you can sip your cocktails or take a coffee, read a book in gentle navigations, and you will have absolutely beautiful view from that point, from that spot.
Who's the exterior designer?
The exterior designer is Francesco Struglia. He's a very talented guy. He's at his very first collaboration with Bonetti. And to tell you the truth, he was very good in really understanding the brief, not to reinterpret the Moto Pamphilo in a nostalgic way, but to really do a product for a modern client.
So it's not a retro boat.
Not at all.
It's something for the modern clientele.
Absolutely.
Now, the biggest challenge, I thought, was for the interior design, because the fifth point was nautical interiors. And we think today of those blue and white stripes and high gloss mahogany as being a very nautical interior, which I guess Bonetti had a big part back in the 60s in creating that whole thing. It's not what people want today, though. So how have you designed the interiors so that a modern clientele will really enjoy the yacht?
You're absolutely right. In 6 decades, the desire and expectation of clients has changed so much. And this is why when we say we were willing to do the Moto Pamphilo of the 21st century, it was really to give an answer to these precise needs. They want to have an abundance of light, probably everywhere, not only even on the main deck, but even in the lower deck. Cascade of natural lights, airy feelings, a lot of windows, sea view from inside out, from every part. And then for sure, nowadays all clients want to have a big garage for water toys. On the Moto Pamphilo we have a side one for a tender end jet ski and the beach area. To do so, we gave a brief, a very focused brief to Lazzarini and Pickering Studio. They are a renowned Roman-based studio. Claudio Lazzarini and Pickering were already working for Bonetti in the past, because at the beginning of the 2000s they were designing the interiors of the Bonetti Sairam. We get in contact with them, and they started. First of all, they started with a clear sentence. We want the boat interiors not to resemble the one of a house, but the one of a boat. And starting with that concept and with the idea to reinterpret some sign of classical memories in a modern take, they identify the beams of the yacht. In the past, you know, the Moto Pamphilo were characterized by these beams that also had a structural function. Nowadays, you find them here. They are, of course, no longer structural elements, but they decorate. They give a rhythm to the architectural frameworks of the main deck, as well as in the owner deck. And even down below, on the lower deck, you find in some cabins little notes of these design elements. Then, of course, you have a lot of glazing surface. So when you get on board the main saloon of the Moto Panfilo, you can only see the sea view, full height glazing surfaces. And in fact, the use of wood has been focused no longer on the walls, because there are no walls any longer, but it is on the flooring as well as on the ceilings. So you've got all the ceilings in, of course, no longer mahogany, because it would be too dark. So people expect to really feel at ease in a much lighter area.
I really liked that in the material that you sent me, that when we talk about the shell concept, it makes people feel cocooned in one single volume. And then Lazzarini Pickering said that for the interior, they wanted people to feel almost like they're inside the skeleton of a whale, with these ribs surrounding them and protecting them. And really, that you've accomplished that with the interior design.
Yeah.
Thanks. Finally, a few technical details. This is a 37-meter composite yacht with a top speed of 18 or 16 knots, depending on the engine package that you choose. At 10 knots, she'll have a range of about 3,800 nautical miles. As you travel to the yachting hotspots from Monaco to Miami and from the Balearics to the Amalfi Coast, you can see Bonetti yachts in just about every port and in every bay. That popularity and the success that the company enjoys today, though, is grounded in the foundations of well-built and supremely well-thought-out motor yachts built in the 1960s, 6 decades ago, the Moto Panfilo. And with this new 37-meter Moto Panfilo soon to hit the waters, the enjoyment of Bonetti yacht owners worldwide can be assured for another 6 decades, and probably far beyond that.